You know, Maya, it's almost funny how just mentioning the word failure can make anyone's hands sweat during an interview. The moment someone asks, "Tell me about a time you failed at work," it feels like they're testing your deepest secrets.
Honestly, it's like the interview version of a horror movie jump scare. I used to worry I'd come off as unprofessional if I admitted messing up, but now I see that it's really about what you do after things go wrong.
Totally. The real focus is on growth, not just the mistake itself. When I've been on the other side of the table, I find it so refreshing when someone owns up to their errors and explains what they learned.
That makes a lot of sense. It took me a while to stop thinking of that question as a trap. Now, I treat it like a chance to show that I bounce back and hopefully show a bit of personality too.
What stood out from your story earlier was how quickly you acted after realizing the mistake. I love that you used the word immediately. It really paints a picture of someone who doesn't just sit around worrying.
Yeah, I figured if I waited, I'd just make the client more upset, and honestly, I'd just worry more too. So calling her right away was scary, but she actually seemed to respect my honesty.
That's so true. People often think hiding things will make them look better, but it's the honesty and quick response that really shine. I remember once forgetting to submit a report on time. The moment I owned up to it, my boss actually thanked me for being upfront.
I love that. It shows that sometimes facing up to a small storm avoids a much bigger problem later on. Plus, it makes you more relatable as a person. Nobody believes someone never makes a mistake.
Something I've wondered, why do interviewers always ask about failure? Is it just to see us squirm, or is there a deeper reason?
That's a great question. I think part of it is seeing how you handle tough situations. If you panic or blame others, that says a lot. But if you can talk about a mistake calmly and show what you learned, it proves you can grow on the job.
Exactly. It's like they're less interested in the failure itself and more in your attitude. Do you see it as a disaster or as a learning moment?
Right. And it's also a way for them to find out if you're self-aware. If somebody claims they've never failed, that's probably a red flag. We all slip up sometimes.
So, for anyone listening and dreading this question, what's your advice for preparing a good answer?
I'd say pick a real story, but keep it simple. Don't pick something that was a total disaster. Choose a mistake you could actually fix. And most important, focus on what you did next.
That's such a good point. I'd add, be specific, like you were with the word immediately. Details show you're not making it up. Also, end your story on a positive note. What did you change? Or what did you learn?
Absolutely. And if you can connect it to skills the job needs, even better. Like, after that, I improved my time management, or I became more careful with details. It turns the story into a plus.
You know, this all reminds me how much vulnerability plays into trust. When you admit a mistake in a thoughtful way, it actually makes you seem more responsible, not less.
I totally agree. The more I practice talking about these moments, the more confident I feel, almost like I'm not afraid of my own story anymore. And sometimes, interviewers even share their own mistake stories back.
That creates such a genuine moment, doesn't it? Suddenly, it's two people connecting, not just a test. It's a good reminder that interviews are a two-way street.
Exactly. So if you're preparing for interviews, try practicing your story out loud, even if your only audience is a cat. You might end up feeling a lot more natural sharing it with someone else.
Artificial intelligence is becoming a buzzword in education circles. Before we dive in, could you clarify what we mean by AI tools in the classroom context and how they're distinct from traditional edtech?
Absolutely. Unlike static edtech platforms, AI tools are dynamic systems that adapt to student input in real time. For example, an AI-powered math tutor can adjust difficulty based on a student's answers, offering personalized paths, much like a GPS recalculating routes depending on traffic.
That GPS analogy really highlights the adaptability. Now, some educators worry AI systems might replace human teachers. How do you see AI complementing rather than competing with classroom instruction?
Great question. AI excels at automating routine tasks like grading quizzes or suggesting resources, freeing teachers to focus on mentorship and deeper learning. Think of AI as a teaching assistant that handles repetitive work, not a replacement for human creativity and empathy.
Building on your earlier point about adaptability, let's talk about personalization. How do AI tools tailor educational content to individual students, and what impact does this have on engagement levels?
AI systems analyze patterns in student performance, like which questions they struggle with, or AC and modify lessons accordingly. A 2022 Stanford study found that students using adaptive learning platforms showed a 30% increase in participation compared to those with static curricula.
That's a significant jump. But what about students who might feel isolated learning with AI? How do these tools foster, rather than hinder, classroom interaction?
Excellent concern. Many platforms now include collaborative AI features, such as group problem-solving prompts or real-time peer feedback, designed to spark conversation and active learning. The AI essentially acts as a social facilitator rather than just a solo tutor.
Let's transition to practical challenges. Some students disengage due to boredom or frustration. How can AI directly address these engagement barriers, especially in diverse classrooms?
AI can detect early signs of disengagement through response latency or declining accuracy. For instance, if a student hesitates, the system might shift to gamified activities or introduce visual aids, much like a coach, spotting fatigue and changing tactics mid-game.
That proactive adjustment reminds me of how Netflix recommends new genres when we lose interest. Are there examples where this has led to measurable improvements in classroom participation?
Definitely. In a Chicago pilot, AI-driven interventions reduced dropout rates in digital courses by 18%. Teachers reported that students felt seen and motivated as the curriculum seemed to respond intelligently to their needs in real time.
Before we wrap up, it's important to discuss the ethical and logistical aspects. What are the key risks educators should watch for when integrating AI, and how can they ensure responsible use?
Data privacy tops the list. AI systems collect vast amounts of student information, so robust safeguards are essential. Bias is another issue. Algorithms trained on limited data may disadvantage certain groups, as seen in multiple studies highlighting disparities in AI grading.
Given these concerns, what steps can schools take to balance innovation and responsibility as they adopt AI tools?
Transparency is crucial. Educators should involve stakeholders in tool selection, regularly audit AI outcomes, and provide students with opt-out options where possible. Combining these safeguards with ongoing teacher training ensures AI enhances, rather than undermines, equitable learning.
Maya, I remember you once said you were scared just to say hello in an interview. So many people listening right now probably feel the same way, just totally frozen when it's their turn to speak. What would you tell someone who's convinced their English isn't good enough?
Honestly, Alex, I'd tell them to look at me. Just a few months ago, I could barely get a word out without my heart racing. Your English doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to sound like you sometimes nervous, sometimes excited, but always genuine.
That's such a relief to hear. Especially from someone who's been there. I think people forget that conversation isn't about showing off vocabulary, but really about connecting.
Exactly. People aren't looking for a walking dictionary. They want to talk to a real person. So even if you make a mistake, just take a breath, smile, and keep going. That's what people remember.
You know, it's funny, perfectionism trips up so many learners. It's like if you can't say it flawlessly, you'd rather say nothing at all. How did you let go of that pressure, Maya?
It took time, honestly. I used to script every sentence in my head, worrying I'd sound silly, but then I realized making mistakes actually made conversations more authentic. Sometimes, people even appreciate your effort more when you're honest about what you